People with ADHD have a tendency to become addicted. This can be to many things, like drugs and alcohol, weed and cigarettes, but also YouTube, games, TV series, and social media. Knowing how you become addicted and how your brain tricks you to become addicted is a vital step into breaking this cycle. This is a complex issue, so I will try to explain it as simple as I can. In this video, I want to discuss why people with ADHD are more prone to addiction, how we become addicted, and then I will explain the habit cycle. So let's get into it. So why are people with ADHD more susceptible to addiction? This all comes down to our brain. People with ADHD, be it inattentive or hyperactive type, have chronically low dopamine levels in their brain. One thing to note is that dopamine is not a pleasure chemical, as it is often referred to, as that is not its function. It might be better to call it a motivation chemical, as dopamine is a neurotransmitter that motivates you to do anything. It basically says to your brain, hey, pay attention, this is about to feel good, and you want to remember this so you can do it again. Evolutionary, this is a huge advantage. If you find a bush of blueberries, it is good if you remember it. The same goes for sex. Wanting to have more and more sex is a very good thing in evolutionary terms. Dopamine is increased in the anticipation of rewards, especially where the reward is uncertain. A certain outcome leads to less dopamine release than an uncertain outcome. We don't know for sure why this is, but probably it's because we can learn more from uncertain outcomes than from certain ones. When the brain has chronically low dopamine, it wants to up those levels. Now, this results in the brain looking for the best and easiest ways to increase it. Here is where the problem is. The ADHD brain gives more priority to actions giving us dopamine. So you consciously might not want to spend 2 hours on social media, but unconsciously, your brain is telling you that this is the best and easiest way to increase dopamine, with the least amount of effort. The same goes for gambling, games, TV series, etc. Let's take social media as an example. It is very easy to access. You are getting a notification that reminds you that someone likes you or wants to connect with you. And once you are on any of their platforms, they usually have endless feeds, where they implement the strategy of uncertain rewards. The next post might be funny or educational, or boring like a food post. This is a gambling mechanism that is very addictive to our brain. It is also everywhere. You can get confronted with social media daily. It is used to sign in for a lot of websites and apps, and people around you are using it, creating a false sense of missing out. All this makes it very easy to get addicted to social media. But the same goes for a lot of other things. YouTube is designed to keep you watching for hours, with things like autoplay, suggested videos, notifications, and the uncertain reward aspect, where a video might be good or bad. In this modern world, your attention is worth money. So we are constantly getting bombarded with a stimulus which to our evolutionary brains seem like excellent ways to up dopamine. Almost every processed product nowadays has added sugar in it. Games incorporate a false and easy sense of progression, and a lot of games also have a gambling mechanism, like loot boxes or a daily reward chest. Porn, for example, is freely available on every device, and our evolutionary brain is extremely sensitive to this. This is all very addictive to anyone, but especially to people with ADHD who have lower dopamine levels. This all makes your brain more susceptible. All of these things incorporate the habit cycle, and you need to understand how this cycle works before we can interrupt it. If you follow the habit cycle long enough, it can become an addiction. First, you have a cue. Then from that cue, you get a craving. Then from that craving, you have a response. And the response gives you a reward. Let's look at a typical habit cycle of Facebook. First, you have a cue. a Facebook notification. Second, you have a craving. Dopamine increases and you want to know what this notification is about, and maybe you get a fear of missing out. Third, you have a response. You check the notification and Facebook feed and spend a lot of time on Facebook. Fourth, you get a reward. Your curiosity is fulfilled, your boredom is gone, and you feel like you did not miss out. The reward is good enough for your brain to say, hey, pay attention, this is about to feel good, and you want to remember this, so you can do it again. This cycle comes back everywhere. Let's look at one more example, food. Anticipating sugary, salty, or fatty food gives a lot of dopamine. In evolutionary terms, this is very handy, as you would not know when your next meal is, so it's good to stock up on calorie-dense foods. But in this day and age, it's different, because it's everywhere. It's cheap and it's available. So let's look at the potential habit loop for chocolate. Cue. You are hungry and see a bar of chocolate in your pantry. Craving. Dopamine increases in your brain and you want the chocolate bar. Response. You take the chocolate bar and eat it. Reward. You become less hungry, you satisfy your desire, and your brain tells your reward system, hey, pay attention, this is good, you want to remember this cue so you can do it again. The next time you see the chocolate bar, your dopamine flares up and tells you, last time that felt good, so let's do it again. And that reinforces the cycle the more you do it. This habit loop is something you go through a lot of times during the day, and becoming more aware of it is the first step into doing something about it. And that is what I want to discuss next week, where I will explain how you can identify your habit loops and then explain how you can go about tweaking this habit loop to either break it or transform it into a positive habit. So if you subscribe, you will be notified of this. Whatever you do, I still appreciate you watching until the end. And if this video was helpful in any way, please consider giving it a like. I hope you have a mindful week and I will see you in the next one.